Teaching and instruction, apostles, elders, fathers, and the daily opening of Scripture. Teaching in the Jerusalem assembly did not rise from a stage or echo from lofty halls. It flowed like water through the city, down from the temple courts, through the narrow streets into courtyards, and finally settling in the homes where families gathered at the close of each day. The teaching of the apostles was the backbone of the household. The wisdom of the elders was its ribs, the instruction of fathers was its breath, and the Scripture itself was the lamp that lit every step on the covenant path. Each morning, long before the sun stood high, the people remembered the words of Moses. "These commands shall be upon your heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak them when you sit, when you walk, when you lie down, when you rise." The Jerusalem assembly lived these words with a fullness that had not been seen in generations. Yeshua had opened their understanding, and the Ruach HaKodesh kept the fire burning. The apostles taught openly in the temple courts, walking beneath long rows of columns that cast striped shadows across the polished stones. Their voices carried through the courtyards as they opened the scrolls. They spoke of Abraham's trust, Moses' obedience, David's covenant, Isaiah's servant, Jeremiah's promised heart, Ezekiel's breath upon dry bones. And with every teaching they drew straight lines to Yeshua, his life, his words, his deeds, his death, his rising, his ascension, and his promised return. Their teaching was not new stone laid beside old stone. It was old stone set in its rightful place. Men and women listened with steady attention, for the apostles spoke with authority given by the risen King. They did not argue over vain matters or wander into empty speech. They opened Scripture the way a shepherd opens a fold, revealing safe paths. They divided truth the way a priest divides incense over coals, letting fragrance rise. They corrected error with firm hands, lifted the weary with gentle ones, and fed the hungry with the bread of Yahweh's word. But the apostles were not the only teachers. As the days stretched long and the shadows shifted, elders walked among the people, answering questions, settling disputes, and guarding the purity of teaching. These men knew the Scriptures by heart. Many had walked with Yeshua. All were filled with the Ruach. Their wisdom steadied the assembly as gate judges steadied the city. If confusion arose, they straightened it. If false words crept in, they cut them off. If brothers clashed, they restored peace. Their counsel protected the flock like walls protect a town from the desert wind. As the evening approached and the temple gates closed, teaching moved into the homes. Fathers opened scrolls or spoke from memory, teaching their children the stories of Yahweh's works. They spoke of Noah building his ark plank by plank in a world of corruption, of Abraham leaving his father's house to follow a voice, of Isaac trusting his father on the mountain, of Jacob wrestling for blessing, of Joseph forgiven by Yahweh and lifted high, of Israel delivered through the sea, of David chosen from the pasture, of prophets calling a wayward people back to the covenant. Then they spoke of Yeshua, his parables, his healings, his prayers, his commands, his suffering, his empty tomb. The children listened wide-eyed, seeing the covenant story stretch from Eden to their own small table. Mothers added their wisdom. They recited psalms while kneading dough, turning daily work into lessons for young hearts. They sang songs of deliverance as they lit lamps. They offered counsel when tempers flared. Their hands shaped not only bread but lives. Their words built the inner rooms of the household with quiet strength. When households gathered together for meals, teaching continued in the presence of brothers and sisters. A teacher might open a scroll and speak a line from Isaiah. A prophet might offer a word from Yahweh. A widow might recall a verse learned in childhood. A young man might repeat a story heard from an apostle that morning. The Ruach moved among them, guiding words, softening hearts, and anchoring truth. Teaching in the Jerusalem assembly was not confined to learned men. It lived in every corner. shepherds teaching scripture to their children while preparing wool, fishermen discussing Yeshua's words as they mended nets, mothers reciting Torah while grinding grain, widows singing psalms to infants, servants repeating apostolic teaching as they delivered bread to the needy. Even disputes became moments of instruction when elders stepped in with scripture to shine light on dark places. The teaching of the assembly was not dry or distant. It was fire, burning away falsehood, lighting the path ahead, warming hearts, refining souls. It was water, refreshing those who came weary from labor, cleansing those stained by sin, filling empty vessels. It was bread, strengthening the weak, sustaining the strong. It was oil, healing wounds, softening what had grown hard. It was milk for the young and solid food for the mature. And every teaching, whether offered in the temple or around a table or at a bedside, pointed to Yeshua. He was the teacher of teachers, the shepherd of shepherds, the cornerstone of every lesson, the fulfillment of every scroll. His life defined the path. His words marked the boundary stones. His footsteps set the rhythm. The apostles echoed him. The elders guarded him. The fathers taught him. The mothers remembered him. The children grew into his likeness. This is how the Jerusalem assembly learned, not once a week, but day by day, morning and evening, in courts and in homes, through teaching and correction, through story and song, through scripture opened and scripture lived. The covenant path did not rest on printed words alone, but on lives shaped by those words until the whole assembly became a living scroll written by the Ruach HaKodesh,